Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be focusing on parquet flooring. It's a fascinating topic, and
Right.
no, I've always loved the look of those really elegant historic homes. You have those beautiful brownstone floors. Well, the secret behind a lot of those floors is parquet.
That's right. Parquet has a history as rich as its appearance. But what's fascinating is how it's kind of moved beyond those grand estates,
Yeah.
and it's making a comeback in modern homes.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. It seems like parquet is having a bit of a resurgence these days, so I know it involves those beautiful geometric wood patterns. But is it just about the looks? What makes it so special beyond just the aesthetic appeal?
Well, imagine a floor that can potentially outlast your mortgage. Parquet can last 2 to 3 times longer than traditional hardwood. It's not just beautiful, it's built to last.
Okay, now I'm really interested 2 to 3 times longer. So for someone like me who's not a flooring expert, what's the difference between solid parquet and engineered parquet?
That's a great question. Solid parquet is, as the name suggests, made from solid pieces of wood. It's the traditional option, offering a classic look and unparalleled durability. But here's where it gets interesting. Engineered parquet is made with layers of wood, with a top layer of hardwood and a core of plywood or high-density fiberboard. This layered construction makes it more stable and resistant to moisture, which is a big plus for certain environments.
Okay, so that means engineered parquet might be a better choice for rooms where spills are more likely, like a kitchen, for example.
Exactly. You're already thinking like a pro. While solid parquet might be better suited for drier areas like living rooms or bedrooms, engineered parquet offers more peace of mind in areas prone to spills or humidity.
Got it. So both types have their advantages depending on the room and lifestyle. But I have to admit, when I picture those intricate patterns, I can't imagine installing it being a walk in the park.
You're right. Installation isn't for the faint of heart. It requires precise placement to achieve those stunning patterns. Even a slight miscalculation can throw everything off. So unless you're a seasoned DIYer, it's generally best to call in a professional.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can just imagine I'd be messing that up. So we've talked about durability, the different types of parquet, and the complexity of installation. But what about cost? Is parquet always going to be more expensive than other flooring options?
Well, it's definitely an investment. You're paying for those premium materials, the craftsmanship and the longevity. But there is a wide range in prices, depending on the type of wood, the complexity of the pattern, and of course, the size of your space.
So you're saying there's hope for those of us who might not have a pallet-sized budget.
Absolutely. And that's where the selection process becomes really important. It's not just about choosing a pattern you love. It's about understanding the nuances of different wood species.
Okay, so let's talk wood species. Does the type of wood used affect the look, durability, and ultimately the price of the parquet?
It absolutely does. Each wood species brings its own unique character to the floor.
All right, so let's dive into the world of wood species. I'm ready to become a parquet connoisseur.
Let's start with oak. Probably the most popular choice for parquet. It's known for its strength, durability, and beautiful green patterns. And it comes in a range of colors from light to dark, making it versatile for different design styles.
Okay, oak sounds like a classic choice. What about something a little more unique? What are some other wood species used in parquet?
Well, if you're looking for something with a richer, warmer tone, walnut is a stunning option. It has a gorgeous, intricate grain pattern that adds a touch of luxury to any space.
Walnut does sound luxurious, but I imagine that level of sophistication comes with a higher price tag.
You're right, walnut is generally pricier than oak, but for some, that unique beauty and richness are worth the extra investment. And it's not just about the look. Walnut is also very hard and durable, so it can withstand years of foot traffic.
So it's both beautiful and tough. What other wood options are out there?
Another popular choice is maple, known for its light color and subtle grain pattern. It brings a bright, airy feel to a room, which can be especially appealing in smaller spaces.
Maple sounds like a good choice for a modern minimalist aesthetic. But with so many options, how do you even begin to choose the right wood species for your parquet floor?
Well, it comes down to a few key factors. Your personal style, the overall design of your home, the amount of traffic the floor will receive, and of course, your budget.
So it's about finding that perfect balance between aesthetics, practicality, and affordability.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to make sure you're making the right choice is to see and touch samples in person.
I mean, don't just rely on pictures online.
Right. Seeing the wood, grain, the color variations, and feeling the texture firsthand can make all the difference in choosing a parquet floor that you'll love for years to come. It's like choosing paint colors. You really need to see those swatches in your own space to get a true sense of how they'll look.
That makes perfect sense. It's like a test drive for your floors.
Exactly. And speaking of test drives, let's move on to the practicalities of parquet maintenance. How do you keep these beautiful floors looking their best for decades?
Okay, let's talk maintenance. I'm all ears. Okay, so we've covered wood species installation, even comparing solid versus engineered parquet. But honestly, one of the things that really draws me to parquet is its longevity. You mentioned it could even outlast a mortgage. That's a pretty big claim.
It's true. Parquet, especially when properly cared for, can easily last for generations. But that does bring us to the question of maintenance. How do you keep those floors looking their best for all those years?
Yeah, because I know real wood floors can be a little bit more delicate than, say, tile. Is it all about using special cleaners and avoiding scratches?
You're thinking along the right lines. The most important thing is establishing a regular cleaning routine. Simple things like sweeping or vacuuming frequently to remove dust and grit, because those tiny particles can act like sandpaper over time and dull the finish.
Oh, wow. So even though parquet is really tough, those everyday particles can still take their toll.
Absolutely. Think of it like this. Even diamonds, the hardest substance on earth, need to be cleaned to maintain their brilliance. It's the same principle with your parquet floor. And when it comes to mopping, moderation is key. A slightly damp mop is enough to clean the surface. You never want to soak the wood.
Right, because I imagine too much water could warp it over time.
Exactly. Now let's talk about those dreaded scratches. While parquet is durable, it's not invincible. One of the best ways to prevent scratches is using furniture pads under the legs of chairs, tables, anything that moves, really.
Okay, furniture pads, got it. But what about those inevitable scratches that happen over time, especially in high-traffic areas? Can those be fixed?
That's where the magic of refinishing comes in. Think of it like a spa treatment for your floor. Every few years, you can have your parquet sanded down and refinished. It'll look almost as good as new.
So it's like hitting the reset button
Yeah.
on those scratches and wear and tear.
Precisely. Refinishing removes that top layer of wood, taking the scratches and imperfections with it. It then gets resealed and restained, bringing back that original luster and beauty.
Okay, so regular cleaning, furniture pads, and occasional refinishing. That sounds manageable. But besides the wood species, are there other factors that affect a parquet floor's durability?
That's a great question, and this might surprise you, but the finish plays a huge role in how well your parquet stands up to wear and tear.
The finish. So it's not just about the type of wood, but also what's protecting it.
Exactly. Traditionally, parquet floors were finished with wax, which gave them a beautiful warm glow. But wax requires more upkeep and isn't as durable as modern finishes.
Interesting. So what are some of the modern finish options, and how do they compare?
Well, these days you have options like polyurethane. Oil-based finishes and even water-based finishes each has its pros and cons. Polyurethane is very durable and resistant to scratches and moisture, making it a popular choice for high-traffic areas. Oil-based finishes offer a warmer, more natural look and are generally easier to repair if they do get scratched. Water-based finishes are becoming increasingly popular because they're low in VOCs, meaning they emit fewer harmful chemicals into the air.
Wow, so choosing the right finish is almost as important as choosing the wood itself.
Absolutely. The finish is your first line of defense against daily wear and tear, spills, and scratches.
Okay, so we've talked about maintenance, the importance of a good finish, choosing the right wood species. But let's step back for a second and address the elephant in the room, the cost. We know parquet is an investment, but is it worth it in the long run?
That's a question every homeowner has to answer for themselves. But here's something to consider. Parquet flooring can actually increase the value of your home.
Really, it's that much of a desirable feature.
It is. Parquet is seen as a sign of quality and timeless elegance. It adds a level of sophistication and character that many buyers are willing to pay a premium for.
Okay, that's interesting. So in a way, you could consider it a long-term investment in your home's value.
Exactly. And when you compare the lifespan of parquet to other flooring options, the cost per year starts to look much more reasonable.
That's a great point, especially when you factor in that it can be refinished to extend its lifespan even further.
Precisely. But of course, the decision ultimately comes down to your budget, your style preferences, and the overall vision for your home.
So is there a way to kind of sum up all these factors to help someone decide if parquet is right for them?
I'd say it boils down to 3 key considerations: space style and lifestyle.
Okay, let's break those down, starting with space.
Think about the size and layout of the room. Where you envision the parquet. Does the scale of the patterns work well in the space? For example, larger patterns like herringbone can look stunning in a spacious living room, but might feel overwhelming in a smaller entryway.
So it's not just about loving the look of a pattern, it's about making sure it suits the proportions of the room.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then there's style. Does parquet complement your existing decor? Will it blend seamlessly with your furniture and your overall design aesthetic?
Right, you wouldn't want a clash of styles, like a super modern sofa on a very traditional parquet floor.
Right. It's about creating a cohesive and harmonious space. And finally, there's lifestyle. This one's really important.
Okay, so what do you mean by lifestyle considerations?
Well, think about your daily life at home. Do you have pets? Are there young children running around? Do you entertain frequently? These factors can play a big role in determining the practicality of parquet for your specific needs.
So if you have a dog that loves to run and play, maybe oak would be a better choice than a softer wood like maple.
Exactly. Or if you have young children who are prone to spills, choosing a durable finish like polyurethane would be a wise move.
It's all starting to come together now. It's not just about the beauty of parquet. It's about making a choice that aligns with your space, your style, and your life.
You got it. And to help you make that choice with confidence, I have one more suggestion.
All right, I'm all ears. What's this final suggestion?
It goes back to something we touched on earlier, ordering samples.
Oh, you mean actually getting my hands on pieces of parquet before I commit?
Exactly. It's one thing to admire pictures online or in a magazine, but seeing the wood grain, the color variations, and feeling the texture in person can make all the difference.
Yeah, I can see that. It's kind of like choosing paint colors. You really need to see those swatches in your own space under your own lighting to really know for sure.
That's a perfect analogy. And with parquet, you also want to see how those patterns and wood tones play with your existing furniture and decor.
So how do I go about getting these samples? Is it as simple as walking into a flooring store and asking?
Many flooring retailers offer samples that you can order online or pick up in store, and some even have showrooms where you can see larger sections of parquet installed, which can be really helpful to visualize the final look in a room.
Oh, so I could actually walk on it. See
Yeah.
how the light hits and really get a feel for it.
Precisely. It's like a test drive for your floors. It allows you to bring the parquet into your own world and see how it interacts with your space before making that big investment.
That sounds incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Especially considering the cost and the fact that we're talking about something that could potentially last for decades.
Exactly. You want to be absolutely sure you're making the right choice. And speaking of making the right choice, there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to discuss: installation.
Right. We talked earlier about how intricate those patterns can be and how it's generally best to leave the installation to the professionals.
Absolutely. While some ambitious DIYers might be tempted to tackle the project themselves, parquet installation requires a level of precision and expertise that's best left to the pros. A skilled installer will ensure the patterns align perfectly, the cuts are precise, and the final result is a floor that's both beautiful and structurally sound.
So finding a reputable and experienced installer is key to avoiding any costly mistakes.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to ask for references. Check online reviews and make sure you're comfortable with the installer's experience and communication style.
That's great advice.
Yeah,
It's definitely worth doing your homework when it comes to finding the right person for the job.
exactly. And one last tip. When you're getting quotes for installation, make sure they include everything: the cost of labor materials, underlayment if needed, and any additional prep work that might be required.
So no hidden surprises when the final bill arrives?
Exactly. It's always better to be prepared and have a clear understanding of all the costs involved.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything there is to know about parquet flooring, from its history to choosing the right wood species and finish to navigating the installation process. We've really taken a deep dive.
It's been a journey of discovery, and hopefully you and our listeners feel well equipped to decide if parquet is right for your homes.
I know I've learned a lot. I'm definitely feeling inspired to at least consider parquet for my next flooring project.
Wonderful. Remember, it's all about finding that perfect balance between aesthetics, practicality, and your personal style.
And don't forget to order those samples.
Absolutely. Seeing and feeling the wood firsthand can make all the difference in making the right choice.
Well, that brings us to the end of another deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration of parquet flooring.
It's been a pleasure.
And to our listeners, if you're intrigued by what you've heard and want to learn more, there's a whole world of parquet knowledge waiting to be explored.